Hey, it's Mark with Onyx Training Group. Video today, I'm going to talk about what I have started to call when I teach in my classes is my 30-minute mic drop class. And I say, if I only had 30 minutes to deliver a presentation to you or do a class for you, here's what I would cover. And that would be the 5-step tactical decision making, the concept of think, communicate, and listen, and the concept of read your partner, read the floor plan. And here's why. So the 5-step decision-making process, it's how you make your decisions, right? So first one is our safety priorities, right? Our hostages, victims, our innocent bystanders, our police officers, and our suspect. And so we're gonna make our decision based on those 4 groups, keeping them in that order, right? If we have hostages and victims, we're gonna do what we do, make sure that it benefits them first, okay? So, like I say, if we have anything, and this works in policing in general too, if you've got a case, right, who do you work for? You work for the victim. You're there to get justice for that victim. So everything you do should be to gain justice for the victim. A solid case, an airtight case, right? Likewise, if you're on a tactical team and you're gonna serve a search warrant on behalf of the detectives working a case, who do you work for? You're working for that victim. So everything you do on that search warrant to secure that location, which is that's your job on a search warrant, is to secure the location for the collection of evidence by the detectives. Everything you do should be geared towards furthering that case, not hindering that case, not messing it up, but making it more solid. So your tactics, your decision making, your tools that you use, how you serve that warrant should all be geared towards building a stronger case or helping build a stronger case. You're just a part of that process. It's not about you, okay? So we have to remember those, the order of those safety priorities. If we keep those in order, then we're gonna do fine. Secondly, in the decision-making process is our facts and intel. What do our facts and our intel say, right? If our facts and our intel say, hey, there's a family living inside that house, then let's do things accordingly, right? Let's not, kick the door, throwing a couple distraction devices, running, screaming at the top of our lungs, telling everybody to get on the ground, pointing guns at little kids and all that stuff. Let's do something different, okay? Let's do something that makes a little more sense. So what do our facts say? What does our intel say? If our intel says that our suspect, is making grenades and making, fully automatic weapons, why are we going to go to the house, kick the door in, and try to run through the house to figure things out, right? It makes no sense to do that. Let's be smart about it. Let's figure out and maybe talk to that suspect and, get him in custody when he goes to the store. Now we go search the house, It's because in that case, there is no victim, there is no hostage at the scene. So at the top of the list would be the police officers. So their safety is first. We have to get the job done, but how can we do it as safe as possible, okay? So, that's keeping in mind the safety priorities, our facts and our intel. What do the facts and intel say? Don't make stuff up, because then you're gonna start down a road that might not be beneficial to you, all right? Thirdly, our environment, where are we operating? Okay, that's going to factor into our decision making on how we do things. Is it wintertime and we're in Alaska? Is it summertime and we're in Florida? Is it day? Is it night? Are we dealing with a house? Are we dealing with a building? Is it the size of a hotel, a giant hotel, resort, or are we dealing with 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom home? Are we dealing with a car? Is it the suspect in a vehicle? Right? Can he go mobile? Are they open air? What is it? So that's going to factor into our decision making. We can't do everything the same way, right? We can't go clear, a 30,000 square foot structure with 5 people. If we do, it's going to take a hell of a long time, and those people are going to be tired about halfway through, right? So we need to. That's going to factor into how we do things. Fourthly, we have our tools, tactics, and our training, right? And we look at this as our tools. What tools do we have? Does your team have an armored vehicle? Some don't, all right? If you have an armored vehicle, you can do things differently than a team that doesn't have an armored vehicle. Likewise, you don't want to become dependent on that armored vehicle, because then it might not serve you in certain situations, right? Everything we do, every tool we have is a percentage tool. It'll work a percentage of the time. It might be 2%, it might be 90%, but it's not going to be 100%, and we have to remember that. Now, don't try to force the tool, right? Don't put the square peg in the round hole, okay? So, our tactics, right? What tactics do we use? Do we use mission-based tactics, where if we're going to search for a suspect that's hiding or barricaded in a building, it's going to look different than if we're rescuing a hostage? Or do we do the same movement for everything? Do we look like we're rescuing dope on a search warrant, or do we do a contain and call out? Do we have the ability to consume the structure from the outside? What are our tactics? And do they fit the situation, right? The thing is, this is kind of an off of that, but we need to let the situation dictate our tactics, okay? So the situation determines what we're gonna do. We don't have this one way of doing things, and we just go, well, all right, we'll just make the situation fit that, right? It's like, you have an agency and you train active shooters, so then people go to a shots fired call, but what does everybody think it is? It's an active shooter, because what do we train? We train active shooter. If somebody's shooting a gun, it's active shooting, we gotta get in there. But no, it might just be somebody alone in their house shooting a gun, right? It's a barricade with shots fired. Let's not do active shooter tactics, because all that's gonna happen is police officers are gonna go in there and get injured, right? So there's no sense in doing that. So what are our tactics? Do we have the tactics? How big is our toolbox, right? So we talk about that. You're not gonna build a whole house with just a hammer, I say that in my classes, like, you can't build a house with a hammer. How are you gonna do electrics, okay? So we need to be thinking about what our tactics are. What training, right? What training do we do? How often can we train? As I say, some teams, they train 2 times a month, 10-hour days. Some train 1 10-hour day. Some train 1 5-hour day, okay? So we have to look at what our capabilities are and our abilities are based on our training time and our training abilities. Where can we train? I see teams that, I go places and they're like, oh, we train in this house. And I go, where else do you train? They go, well, just here. I'm like, okay, so you guys pretty much have this house figured out. So if you ever have to deal with something in this house, you guys are down. But what about if it's a commercial building? What about if the layout changes? What then? What are you gonna do? So we really have to think about, what does our training look like? How often do we train? How well do we train? I've seen teams, literally seen teams, go to train on a day, and I know they call it a 10-hour day because they were there about 10 hours, but their training consisted of maybe 4 to 5 hours, okay, that they were actually in a training location. The rest of the time they were on break, at lunch, getting their stuff on, taking their stuff off, and at about 4 to 5 hours. And I say that's 4 to 5 hours because that's all they were in the training location. I didn't see them when they were in the training location because I was doing a training with another group. We happened to be in the same facility, but in different areas of the facility. So what does your training really look like? Lastly for this is, in the decision-making process, is your officer instincts. What are your instincts based on your experience, based on what you know, what you feel about it, right? Now, we're not going to discount the facts and intel just for the feelings, but your experience matters too. What you know and what you've experienced has to play into your decision-making, right? So don't discount your feelings. If you're saying, hey, I think this feels like X situation that we experienced before, why don't we try this tactic, or why don't we use this tool and see how it works for us, okay? Or why don't we, hey, these guys are pretty serious. Do we really want to go up there and kick the door on this warrant service? They're armed, they're supposed to be armed, they're doing a lot of dope, they've got a lot to lose. Maybe we should do a contain and call out. Maybe we should stand there doing breach and hold, breach the front door and then hold at the front door, and not just immediately walk in. Give them time to catch up in the processing, right? Give them time to catch up in that processing. So, like I say, if I was able to do just a 30-minute class, I'm actually going to do this faster than even 30 minutes today, but if I was going to do a 30-minute mic drop class, that would be my first section, would be going through the 5-step decision-making process. Secondly, would be, as I said, would be the whole concept of think, communicate, and listen. All right, now you do that and you're going to solve 90% of your problems right there. Think about what needs to be done. Critical thinkers, right? I remember one time when I first got into policing, somebody said, oh, you could train a monkey to be a police officer. And I'm like, that is such utter BS, man. You can't train a monkey, because there has to be critical thinking. This is where it happens, right? This is what separates a good police officer from just a cop out there trying to get by, okay? So it's think. We have to have that critical thinking skills, develop those skills, right? Communicate. We have to be able to communicate to people, whether that's on the street or in a tactical situation. We have to be able to communicate what needs to happen. And sometimes that needs to be communicated quickly, concisely, succinctly, and comprehensively. And so that people understand it, okay? It has to be received, right? That's the third part. Listen. Everybody else has to listen, right? We know everybody has wonderful ideas, but at this time we're only working with one idea, right? The one that's been communicated. So we have to listen in order to hear, right? Listen with the goal of hearing, not just listening so that the sound washes over your ears, that you actually hear it and comprehend it, right? That's the second one. Think, communicate, listen. Everything we do is predicated on that. Everything we do depends on those three things happening. All right. Lastly, read your partner, read the floor plan. Okay. And I talk about this as far as a movement, but it can be for anything really. So if we're talking about tactical movement, if we're talking about just working with another partner on a call, read your partner, read the floor plan. Reading your partner. What is your partner trying to do? What does it look like your partner's trying to do? If we're moving through a building and my partner is looking this way, what do I need to do? Well, I need to protect them. That's my role. So I'm going to be looking the opposite direction, covering their back. And then conversely, they're covering my back. So as we move, we're reading each other. Then we're reading the floor plan. Okay, there's a wall right there. We don't need to go that direction. We're going to go the other way, all right? Hey, our next movement is going to be towards that door over there, that doorway. We're moving down this hallway. Let's hit this door to the right first. We're going to clear this room first. So it's reading your partner, read the floor plan. Hey, there's a bed right there. My partner can't walk through the bed, so they're going to have to come this way. So I'm going to start giving them some space, all right? So that's reading our partner, read the floor plan. So on the street, right? The street contact. Read my partner, read the floor plan. Where are we? Where do they need cover? What are they doing? We got the contact cover concept, right? We use that. I say to use that tactically when we're clearing rooms. Contact cover. One person's clearing, one person's searching, the other person is covering the rest of the world, right? Reading my partner, read the floor plan. How do I help them at this point? How do I help my partner in this environment? Okay? So, to kind of wrap things up, my 30-minute mic drop, we do the 5-step decision-making process. We have accounting for the safety priorities, keep them in order. We do our facts and intel. What do we know? Our environment, where are we? Where are we operating? Our tools, tactics, and our training, right? What tools do we have? What are our tactics that we use? And how much training do we have? How capable are we? And then our officer instincts, right? Second one, think, communicate, and listen. Think critical thinking. Communicate what needs to be done to people, and everybody's got to listen in order to hear. And then lastly, right, read your partner, read the floor plan. Where does my partner need support? How can I support my partner in this endeavor and where we are and where we need to be and where do we need to go, right? What's our goal here? All right. Hey, this is Mark with Onyx Training Group. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of information and helped you out and can help you with stuff. Again, if I can be of any benefit to you, if you need training, law enforcement, special weapons and tactics training, please think about Onyx Training Group. If not, please get your training from a trainer who understands civilian, police, law enforcement constraints, requirements, needs, whatever. Don't just get it from somebody who can teach you some CQB training and all that stuff that doesn't serve civilian law enforcement very well. All right. So again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please contact me, mneal@onyxtg.com. That's my email. You can hit me up on Facebook with Onyx Training Group. I'm on Instagram, Onyx Training Group. Our website, onyxtg.com. Please seek out some good law enforcement training, right? And hopefully this will give you a little bit of information and help you better serve your community as special weapons and tactics teams for your police agencies. Thanks for checking it out.